Hello everyone, it's Dr. Alex again with another video all about muscle. So the strength that you build in your 60s could determine whether you stay independent or become frail as you get older. So right now, whether you can feel it or not, your body is on a trajectory, a slow downward curve that started back in midlife in your 30s or early 40s. And the whole goal of this video is to help you get ahead of that curve before it gets ahead of you. So I want you to picture yourself at the age of 80 years old and think about whether you could still get out of a chair without pushing up with your hands, or climb a flight of stairs on your own, or carry your shopping in from the car, and also get back up off the floor after you fall over. So those simple abilities, those simple things are what independence is built on. And the clever way to protect them is to work backwards from the age of 80, from that person you've just pictured in your head, and actually train the exact movements that keep them. That is precisely what these 6 exercises in this video are targeting. And this is exactly what we did in medical school. This is, what we practiced. We practiced the things that we knew that we would have to face as doctors, like the procedures and, the difficult conversations with patients and families, the reading of complicated blood results, because we knew that we would need those skills one day. And the thing is, you can do the same thing with your own body. You can be rehearsing the movements that you already know you'll be needing for the rest of your life. For anybody that's new here who hasn't come across this channel yet, welcome. My name is Dr. Alex. I'm an emergency medicine doctor, and if you're new to the channel, if you've never seen one of my videos before, then thank you for watching. Thank you for stopping by. Take a look around at all of the other videos I've got on this channel. I really, really hope you find them useful. And yeah, let's carry on with how often should you do these the rest of the video. So with these 6 exercises, here's the plan for sort of how often to do this. So if you don't currently do any formal exercise, then this little routine is perfect to run through every single day as often as you can, because it's very gentle. It is safe. And that daily repetition is what builds both the habit and the strength. Now, if you're somebody who already does exercise quite a lot, and you go on runs or you weightlift or you do exercise classes, then you can do these 6 exercises on your days off, instead on your rest days, as sort of like an easy active recovery that keeps the most important movements ticking over. What I would say to everybody watching this, though, is that you need to treat these targets as your floor and not your ceiling, if that makes sense. Most people can manage the basic version. And the whole idea of this is that, you want to add a bit more as you go along. Like a few more seconds to each exercise, or a few more reps, or a slightly heavier step, so that you're always nudging yourself forwards rather than standing still, and you're slowly getting better over time. So the single leg balance first exercise is incredibly simple. It is simply just standing on one leg. But what this does is it sharpens the balance system in your brain and your nerves and your muscles that catches you before a stumble, and before that stumble turns into a proper fall. So as we get older, 2 things tend to happen at once. The muscles in our feet and our ankles and our legs slowly start to get weaker. And the nervous system, which is your brain and your nerves, the nervous system that fires off the tiny corrections to keep us upright, those get a little slower to react as we get older. So your balance is really a constant conversation between your muscles, your inner ear as well, and your brain. And like any skill, it fades if you stop practicing it. And this one is particularly important, and this is why I've put it at number 1 right at the top of the list, because falls are one of the biggest reasons that older people lose their independence, and a broken hip in particular is one of the worst things that can happen to an older body. Yes, we can replace your hip. A surgeon can give you a replacement, but the numbers are really scary, because as many as 1 in 4 to 1 in 3 older people who break their hip will die within the following year. A lot of them pick up infections in the joint, and plenty of those people never ever make it home. They end up in a nursing home because the recovery is so long that they end up losing what little muscle they had to begin with, and they come out weaker than ever, to the point where they can't walk. This is what we call pajama paralysis. So the way to do this exercise is to simply stand on one leg with a kitchen worktop or a chair or something close by that you can hold on to if you need it. You want to be aiming for, 20 to 30 seconds on each leg without holding on to anything if you can. But obviously it's there if you stumble and need to grab onto something to stop you falling over. This one is really easy, and it's an easy one to fit in. Just 2 or 3 times a day while you're waiting for the kettle to boil, or you're waiting for, I don't know, the microwave to finish, or just, there are loads of times throughout the day when you can be standing on one leg and training that nervous system to get better over time. And if you start doing this, you'll find that it is harder than it sounds. So why don't you, while you're watching this video, there's probably another, 8 minutes of this video left, 6, 8, 10 minutes. Just try a couple of times over the course of this video just to try and stand on one leg and see how you feel. So, the second two, the sit to stand exercise, is standing up from a chair without using your hands. And it's one of the best tests that we have of how strong your legs are. So what you need to understand is that from around the age of 30 onwards, we are slowly losing muscle unless you do something about it. And if you've watched any of my videos before, then you'll know that I talk about this pretty often. This is a process called sarcopenia. And within that process, unless you train your muscles lose power. You lose the ability to move with speed. And then, you lose the ability to, you correct yourself if you fall, climb a set of stairs. All of these things deteriorate with age. This is just a part of getting older, but it's exactly why you need to keep doing hard things that challenge your muscles, because that challenge is what stops them wasting away. So the big muscles in your thighs and your backside, your glutes, these are the very muscles that you use to get off the toilet and, stand up from the sofa and out of a chair. So if you keep them strong, you keep your freedom to move around your own home at the age of 80 or 90 or even 100. So to do this exercise, you want to sit in a sturdy chair, not a swivel chair like this, obviously, and then stand up without pushing off with your hands, and then lower yourself back down slowly under control. Now, depending on where you're starting from, that might be anywhere from 5 to 20 reps. And you just repeat that for 2 or 3 sets. And to make it harder over time as you get stronger, because your legs will get stronger if you do this regularly, you can slow the movement right down. Or you can hold something really heavy against your chest as you rise up, like a couple of bags of sugar, or, bag of tins, or preferably a dumbbell or a plate as well. A barbell plate, like a 10 or 20 kilo weight against your chest. And this is essentially a modified version of asquat. And again, if you've never done this before, then you'll notice after about 5 reps, your legs are pretty achy, and that is always going to be a good thing. It means your legs are working. The third exercise is the step 3, the step up. And this is what keeps you safe and confident on the stairs as you get older. So climbing the stairs is much harder than it looks, because every single step asks you to lift your whole body weight onto one leg, which demands, real single leg strength, as well as power. Now, power is your ability to produce force really quickly. And the thing is, it's one of the very first things that we lose as we age. It fades even earlier than raw strength. This is why many, many older people start to struggle with stairs long before they have any trouble walking on the flat. And it's no wonder that so many of them end up downsizing to a bungalow. Not because they really want to, but because the stairs have very slowly over time become too much for them. If anything, that's sort of the wrong way around, because once you retire from your job, you've suddenly got all of this free time, more time than you've ever had before to train and get strong. So the goal should really be to come out of retirement stronger than you were 850, not weaker. So to do this exercise, you want to use the bottom step of the stairs in your own home and step up and down in a controlled way, leading with alternate legs each time for 1 or 2 minutes at a time, or as long as you can last. And as you get stronger, you can use the second step up if you like, or the third step up, or you can hold a weight like a dumbbell in each hand to add a bit more challenge. 4. Brisk walking. The fourth exercise is brisk walking. And if I could give everybody just one movement, one exercise to do every single day, this would probably be it, because it's good for every single organ in your body. A brisk walk strengthens your heart, it lowers your blood pressure, it steadies your blood sugar, it sharpens your brain, it builds your lung fitness, and it's linked again and again with living longer. What this really means is that a brisk walk is basically just the everyday version of what proper athletes, endurance athletes, call Zone 2 training, which is that steady, moderate effort that builds your aerobic engine. For a fit endurance athlete, like a triathlete or a marathon runner, getting into Zone 2 means a pretty steady run or a bike ride. But for the average person whose fitness is far lower, a brisk walk is enough to reach exactly that same point. Now, the simplest way to find the right pace here is just to walk at a speed where you can still hold a conversation, but you would really struggle to sing, and basically you're out of breath enough that singing or speaking really quickly would be really difficult, but you could handle a slow conversation with somebody next to you. And that really is the sweet spot that you're aiming for. You want to try and build up to somewhere around 20 or 30 minutes ATA time. And if you find that you can go further or push yourself a little quicker, then go for it. Just do it, because more is generally better here. 5. Carrying weight. Exercise number 5 is carrying some form of weight, usually around the house as often as you can, sometimes called the farmer's carry, and it builds the kind of strength that you will actually use in real life. Now, the goal here isn't to just get big forearms or get aerially strong handshake. The strength of your grip really matters because it works as a proxy for the rest of your whole body. So it tells us, a great deal about how strong you are everywhere else. And carrying a weight in each hand is brilliant precisely because it works almost every muscle group at the same time. And it works your grip, your forearms, your shoulders, your core, your legs, all together in one very simple movement. The lovely thing about this is that you don't need much weight at all, because even just a pair of, 2 kilo dumbbells or even 1 kilo dumbbells, if you're new to all of this, it does the job really nicely, and you can pick them up really cheaply online, like Amazon or even from your pharmacy. In fact, you could fold this straight into your walk. You can carry those weights for, 10 minutes around the garden or 15 minutes around the park, and you can tick off 2 of these exercises at the same time. Now, if you want to do this exercise just on its own, not with that brisk walk, then just carry them for 30 or 60 seconds around your garden. Put them down to rest for a couple of minutes, and then repeat that a few times until you feel like you've had a good workout. Okay, the 6th and final 6, getting up from the floor exercise, and possibly the most important own out of all of them, is simply getting up from the floor. So, for a lot of people, the real fear after a fall isn't, the fall itself. It is lying there alone, unable to get back up and, not being able to move for a couple of days until somebody finds you. This one is personal for me because it happened to my own nan several times in the years before she passed away. And it's happened to Steph's nana a couple of times over the last few months as well. Wearing her, she doesn't answer the phone. We ring a few times. I'm sure everybody's had this experience in the past with a family member. You go around and you find that they've had a fall. And the reason why this is so important is that rising from the floor, getting yourself up off the floor, takes real strength and mobility and flexibility and balance and coordination all at the same time, which is why it pulls together almost everything that the other 5 movements are working on into one single movement. So to practice this movement and turn it into an exercise, you want to lower yourself onto the floor, sit down or preferably lie down on the floor, and then try and get back up using your hands for support if you need to, like using a chair or rolling over and then pulling up on the worktop, to try and help you get up. And using a bit of support or a bit of help at the start is fine. But the real skill, though, the real goal for this exercise is learning to get up using your legs and your core as much as possible rather than hauling yourself up with your arms. And although that's pretty hard work at the start, it works just about every muscle group that you have. So if you do this 10 or 20 times in one set, in one go, you'll find that it is a surprisingly good workout in its own right. Just give it a go after this video and see how you feel. Just lie on the floor and try and get back up without using your hands much, and you'll realize just how difficult it is. But if you do this regularly enough, then the best thing about it is that you are literally rehearsing the exact skill that will eventually catch most of us out, because most of us will have a fall at some point in our life. And at the same time, you're building the muscle around your bones that help to cushion a fracture if you do fall. So if you build your thighs and your hip flexors and your glutes, then you are building layers of muscle over that bone to literally give it a cushion if you fall on it. So your risk of breaking a bone goes down as a result. So when you step the bigger picture back and look at all 6 of these movements together, they all come down to the same very simple goal. If you can still balance on one leg and rise from a chair and climb the stairs with confidence, and you can walk briskly, and you can carry your shopping in both hands, and you can get up from the floor on your own at the age of 80, then the odds are very good that you're going toe age exceptionally well, and you know you're going to be well ahead of other people in your same age category. So obviously this video is never going to be about building a beach body or just building muscle for the sake of it. The whole point is to protect the everyday movements that you're going to need as you get older. The movements that let you stay independent and stay active and keep enjoying your life for as long as possible. And I'll be honest, when I train, when I go to the gym, when I exercise, I'm not really bothered about how I look. I'm thinking far more about longevity and staying capable than about how I look in the mirror, because being strong and independent at the age of 80 matters so much more than a flat stomach at the age of 33. So you want to start exactly where you are. It doesn't matter how unfit you are. It doesn't matter what you look like. Just start today and get into a routine with these exercises. Do what you can manage today and then add a little more whenever it begins to feel really easy and manageable. And keep practicing these. Keep getting better and getting ahead of that trajectory, that curve that we mentioned at the beginning. And also watch some other videos across this channel when you're doing them to keep learning about what keeps you healthy and spritly and fit as you get older.